Cool. All right. Welcome to the first Bitcoin Core App Design call. This is our 73rd one total, January 10 here. And I don't know about you, but I took a break over New Year's, Xmas, and I'm just getting my head back into all of these different projects right now. And as usual, I have this. Let's me switch over. We have our note-taking document that I will share with everyone where we can put stuff in. Um, and I know it's not everyone's favorite conversation, but process is just never the most fun stuff. But I would kind of be, we start a new year here. I'd be kind of curious to hear how everyone wants to move forward. What do we kind of expect moving forward? What we want to get done this year? But before that, what else would you like to talk about in this call? And then we'll just add it in the document.
I'm happy to share a bit of the research at the beginning of the report with the intention of asking you as a group some questions.
Yep. Cool.
That's it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I also kind of wanted to, I don't know, maybe I've been taking this for granted, but I was kind of curious what the process is for getting stuff added to Figma. I was feeling ambitious and wanted to maybe try to work through some of the error flows. But then I realized I don't actually know how to contribute to the Figma. So that'd be nice.
Okay, I added it. I can give an answer to that one. Okay, cool. Anything else? Okay. Johnny, I don't know if you're... something that I'm curious about, and I put that in here as the dev process, is I don't really know how the devs work right now. Like, how do you figure out what to work on? Like, what's priority, what isn't, and
it's a mess right now. As you said, we're all kind of like coming back from the holiday, trying to figure it out. I have an idea in my mind about what our goals are going to be. But yeah, it's still kind of up in the air a little bit. So that's going to be a focus for me and Harold and anyone else that wants to get involved with the actual code real soon. I think we're probably going to have like a dev meeting to kind of like go through those dirty details. But I can speak for myself. At the moment, my focus has been on picking up some old stuff that's been kind of lingering. Peer details is one I have partially implemented, and the old error flows issue is another thing that I've been working on. But like I said, I think we could talk about like this all together about what we would like to see as priorities. I have somewhat of an idea of what that's probably going to be, but yeah.
And you got some funding, right? You're going to spend more time on this. Yeah. Congratulations! That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, and with that, my schedule is going to be a lot more steady. So, like for instance, this meetings, I'll be able to come to every single one of them. So you can always assume I'll be here at least. Even if we have nothing to talk about, I'll call in and we can share status and all that. And yeah.
Awesome. That's super exciting.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess for that's one of the things as far as if I even heard from like Bitcoin, like the core developers who work on this stuff, like I don't know. And Johnny, would you consider yourself a core developer or not? Or I don't know. I don't know where this group starts and ends or so. But I've heard from other people like they don't even talk about certain things. Like they just send messages or interact. Like there's not like in a company this very tight collaboration, with like a project manager and milestones, all the stuff necessarily, right? Yeah.
There's like groups groups.
Yeah.
There's like little groups that are very close, and then there's kind of bridges in between each group to coordinate. It's very interesting, and I've learned a lot the last year about how it's all working, and it's kind of amazing it's working at all, but it is, and there's these tight groups that coordinate. I would kind of consider myself at the edge. I wouldn't call myself one of the core devs yet, but yeah.
Yeah. Are these? Yeah, I mean, that's why when I feel like I'm asking for like, what's the dev process? Like, what are milestones? What's the roadmap? It's like who's the one to say, right? Because you have these different people and groups somehow independently working on things. But
yeah, it's kind of tough. Right?
Yeah.
It is tough. I think we have a slight advantage, kind of being outside for a little bit, that we can make it up ourselves. And I think we should. And there's a couple of like fundamental like platform things that we have to adhere to, and we kind of work with Habasto on that to make sure we're not out of line with anything. But for the most part, I feel like we can make up our own priorities because we are still kind of an outside project. We're not fully merged in or anything, so there's not going to be too much. Too much friction for anything that we want to do. And I think we just need to take advantage of that, especially for the next 6 months for the rest of the year. Just work on what we think is important and try to get it done. Right.
I have a question as well regarding the like how you guys work on specific development on specific parts of the user flow. Do you guys just like in terms of how you arrange yourself, does one of you work on one specific part of the user flow, or would you say like, let's dedicate one person to this section, this part of the user flow, and then we could maybe like sprint towards that?
Yeah, that's we kind of are we kind of silo ourselves right now, and then we work together when someone gets stuck, basically.
So we just need to figure out
a small team, so that's kind of how we have to silo ourselves. Each person works on a different feature, and then we kind of we come together when it needs to get merged, or if someone's stuck on something, right? So that's kind of the idea. In a larger team, you would kind of pair up, and 2 or 3 people would work on a single feature at a time, but we're not a very large team.
Yeah. Yeah. Something I was also thinking about is there are some issues, some design PRs and whatnot that have been lingering around or not. And sometimes, I'm wondering, like, if the dev crew, if they work on something, they have a question, or like, how do they know how to get a hold of a designer or the designers? Like, who do they ping? Is that clear? How do we support that process well? If you just kind of like say, "Hey, designers, arrive!" Like show the bat symbol for designers and hope someone shows up, or how do we manage?
Yeah, that's kind of how it's been, but we can improve that, right? Yeah, especially because we don't want the burden to be entirely on any single person, right?
Yeah, I think it would almost be good if something in development, I think the PRs, it's always assigned to someone, whoever developer is working on it. Maybe we can also assign a designer on it, and they just kind of become the person that helps out with that particular issue, the go-to person or so. Like we actually use GitHub assignments for that if we want to, if people are up for it. If not, also cool. I just assume that I'll have to be some type of routing a node in a lot of
maybe initially, but that's a good point. Like we could, especially with the wallet stuff, if people want to take, greater responsibility for a specific design or whatever, we could, just coordinate with them. But yeah, it'll basically just be during the pull request. to get a designer to, as it has been, to just say it looks good.
Yeah, I think it can also be helpful before someone starts implementing something that we actually have an initial session to just talk through the designs, talk through the features. Maybe there's already something obvious missing in the design, or something has to be changed, or so. So, those things don't just happen when things are halfway implemented or so, but you actually just kind of do that at the beginning. But I mean, that's I guess the freedom that we give each other. It just kind of depends on the individual initiative.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to throw something out there, 2024 roadmap from design perspective, my proposal would be get wallet design done by mid-year. So 6 months, go through all the milestones that we have, like spec out all the wallet stuff in super detail, as crazy detailed as we possibly can, make prototypes, just go nuts, just be done with it. And I think a good amount of that would be kind of development independent, but development would kind of be good amount behind. The good thing is, by being so far ahead, right, everyone can just discuss, and by the time development comes around, ideally it's already straightforward, right, because everything's resolved. Then the second part track would be the support active development. So that's just like testing, giving feedback, making those tweaks, updating the design docs, just kind of the ongoing stuff, which is a bit sporadic and on and off, I would say. Like the first part where we just kind of work through design, the designers can just do whatever they want there, like structure independently. The second part, the second track is different. I don't know, any other tracks? Research track, testing? I don't know.
I was about to mention that. I'd love to know from, like, in terms of my planning as well, how can I plan research sprints, and how many sprints should I plan for the year around Bitcoin Core? Because it would help to think, I could think about testing prototypes, once the wallet design is done, or something along those lines. Do some A/B testing, that kind of thing, before it's moving into development. I mean, we have time, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to just kind of give a number. Ideally, we test things where we're very uncertain, where we just need that additional data, or are curious about something, or have holes, or can't decide, or just like have a good reason basically to do it. Yeah, I don't know.
I would say if we have some flow done design-wise, just good to test it.
Yeah,
just to
I agree.
discover any unknowns, and then we can do like a final improvements or total redesign depending on the results. or as Christoph said, if we have more uncertainty before it's finalized, then we can do it earlier with less high fidelity designs.
And somewhat related to that is, so I built this prototype a couple of years ago or so, just mocking up the block clock. And I was wondering if we should just do more of the interactive web-based prototyping. Because it adds, Figma prototypes are okay, but they have limits.
Fully agree.
And this web-based prototyping it's just really, really quick, right? Like with a proper development setup, like you make a change 1 second later, you try it. Like you don't have to run make and navigate to that part of the app. Like we can mock this up where on the left, we have potentially a list of user flows and screens. And then we can just say, well, I want to be on the activity screen with 3 transactions, show me, and 1 failed. Show me what that looks like. Or something like just very quick iteration that we could use to validate design way before implementation, that we could also potentially, that's realistic enough that we can show it to during research and validate things.
I'm very interested in this. In terms of web-based testing for the actual wallet designs, would we be able to do something like that? How before it actually moves to development? I've never done anything like that before, so I'm just curious how we would. I mean, you got this up and live and running, so
I mean, I'm super comfortable. I've done web development for a long time, so I'm super comfortable whipping out these type of interactive prototypes. Like under the hood, there's no real data layer. There's no node. Like there's a ton of stuff missing, but on the surface, it's functional enough to feel like it's, you know,
right.
somewhat the real thing. And I don't know about others. If like who else? Anyone else comfortable with JavaScript, Vue.js, or something like that?
I always had to use Axure to fake it, but I mean, they are web-based as well. It's just a different
Yeah.
technology, and it's not the real thing. But I was building prototypes for entire checkout processes that would calculate the shopping cart correctly based on the user configuration that they did. So I have experience with these kinds of things where you can test entire flows. And so that would be probably something in the middle, right? What you're showing here is already it's coded. What I'm used to doing is basically interactive wireframes.
Yeah, I can do interactive wireframes as well. Yeah, but it's also when we were testing out the Jam UI as well, we had just a remote version running, and that was a much more believable user experience testing process, at least from my feeling when testing it. So if it would be possible, it would be amazing. I would do it myself, but I don't code, so
Yet.
Yet. Well, I do code. Actually, I do code. I do have put some pages together, but not there's coding and there's coding.
What tools do you use, Christoph, to build those prototypes?
That's Vue.js. So it's either Vue.js or Nuxt.js, which is, I mean, it's it's basically like React, but I find React absolutely horrendous and ugly, and Vue.js very elegant in comparison. So that's my go-to.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm kind of a tourist in that realm. But I mean, I'll just say they're way more useful than static designs because they're dynamic and you can move them around and all that. But that's pretty hardcore for a designer, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, like we're trying to build something outstanding here, right?
Yeah, no,
why not go
it's
for it?
really nice. I mean, that's the dream, is to have the the design spec be fully interactive before it gets to code. But
I think it's also useful for you guys as developers as well to see.
yeah, it absolutely is. It's just that's intense, building a full UI and Vue.
Well,
Yeah.
a bit of a side thought here is that the design uses the Bitcoin UI kit. A side output of this could actually be a UI library that also then becomes a UI kit UI library that other projects could then potentially also use. So there is a byproduct here that could potentially go beyond the project.
That's a cool incentive. It's definitely a cool incentive.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an idea. I don't know if there's time or all of this stuff. Plenty of other things to do, but I personally, I don't know, like Yashraj and Dr. What's the name? MacG, I think. Let's take a look. There's this issue here. It was assume UTXO. Okay, yes, it was initial explorations around assume UTXO. I really love the explorations here. The tough thing is, right, when you have some screens here in a GitHub, that it's just hard to compare, when you see these things. It's and hard to feel it out. It's easier when you have a clickable prototype or something like that. So it would be good if we have some ways to practices to use Figma prototypes or some other type of prototyping.
Which one? Could you share the link to this one?
Yeah, this is a really awesome what they've been doing there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, but I didn't want to hijack the conversation with prototyping stuff.
So just if I understand clearly, it would be useful to prototype these screens for the UTXO user flow.
Yeah, I mean, if just read through this conversation here, and Yashraj, let me look up the name here. Dear G, Dr. G, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I'll just say Dr. G. Has a proposal of a series of screens. Then Yashraj created another proposal here, and then created a second version also in a thread. Now you have like 20 screens in this conversation here. It's kind of hard to follow. It's kind of hard to figure out what it actually feels like when you click through them. And as a user, you just see one of those things, you read through it, you click a button, you see the next thing, right? So prototyping can be a really big, it can cut through a lot of stuff that we otherwise have to imagine. Right now you have to imagine, okay, I click here and then I'm gonna, okay, now I'm over here. Now now I'm here, right? You have to imagine all of this stuff, and prototyping can cut through that and make things more intuitive.
Yeah, the prototyping will reveal a lot of holes in the design, and also things that don't make sense or do make sense. So I'll reach out to those two and see if I can get a copy of the Figma file they're working on. Maybe the Figma files in the thread as well.
No, I'm sure Yashraj is here. He might just be listening in, but yeah, I think they have it really well under control there, and they have some really good proposals. I think it's just a bit about what do we actually call this feature? Assume UTXO is a technical thing, but we may not want to throw that at users. But I think there's some really good stuff in there.
Yeah, sure. Would you like to put together a prototype together and test it?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Hey guys, I'd love to do this, and we can first go for a Figma prototype. However, what Christoph showed us, the web-based prototype that he made, something like that would be super duper cool. The problem is that I don't know how to do it, but but that is also exciting because I want to learn how to do it as well. And so if we can take this and use this to learn and then build that, happy to do that. If you just want me to build Figma prototype, I can try and do that as well.
Okay.
I guess you cannot embed Figma into GitHub, right? In Notion, you can just you can export from Figma an embed code and paste it on a Notion page, and basically you only have to embed this code, and then you don't have to always link or add screenshots, because you can embed Figma directly into the page.
It's technically possible, but it's a horrible experience. I would avoid Figma embeds altogether. Because, like, for example, on mobile, it hijacks your scrolls, so you sometimes cannot scroll past. It automatically adds a mobile layout around your screens, even when it's not mobile. There's some weird stuff there.
Okay. Too bad.
Yeah. There are just limits to all these things. And the reason why I'm bringing some of this up is that if you look at all these different milestones here, we actually have tons of screens in the end. Like there's just a lot going on, and it's going to be hard for us to keep the overview of all of this. right? Especially, I mean, for those who spend more time on it, who are deeply into the project, they'll manage somehow. But for everyone who's not all the time in there, it's going to be really hard to keep up with everything. So if we can use some extra tools like prototypes or so to be closer to the actual experience, I think it will help.
In terms of these designs, you showed all of the milestones that are already present as milestones on the Bitcoin Core app, the Design Docs website. Is it safe to say that those are ready for testing, for prototyping?
No, so they're basically version. So we had, I think it was actually a year and a half ago, we did those initial like crazy discovery session. We had tons of screens, we had all these Figma files, right? Then last year we kind of took them and consolidated them into a set of screens that is probably closer. But if you look at let's say the activity page here, there's you can kind of see like, okay, those are probably the screens they're going to have. It's probably going to look something like that, but there's a lot of detail missing there. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be fleshed out. Like it hasn't been thought all the way through. So there's a level of detail in here that we still need to add. Like with sending, there's no multi-sig stuff, or with they need another very thorough revision, I would say, every single one of them, and also technical validation, because that has not really come into play quite yet.
So after the revision, prototype, and then testing. Or I mean, we could call these mid-fidelity designs, actually, since they're not fully fleshed out. Would it be, yeah.
I mean, we did enough work on milestone 1.3, I guess, to be able to put a prototype together to test that.
Yeah.
But the other ones, I think the challenge is maybe not even so much at the moment the kind of the fidelity of the visuals, but the fidelity of the process, and the kind of we have this iceberg, and we fiddled at the top of that with some of the things, but not yet on the kind of the beneath the surface too much. And also we would need very well written, or we need to decide what do we actually want to test.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the question. That's the thing I have on my mind, is we need to decide what to test, and the decision around what to test comes about: is it useful at this stage?
Yeah.
What is it? What is it going to provide by testing? How is it going to actually benefit the project?
Yeah. Like, for example, the Assume UTXO stuff that we just talked about, I think how to present that to people, because it's a new feature. Like, what do we call it? What description makes sense to people? Is it like data snapshot, or a quick start helper, or like what do you call this thing, right? And if we have some 2-3 variations of it, we can show them to people, and probably existing Bitcoin users more so, and then just see if they can make sense of it. So I think those new features, those are really good candidates for testing.
I have to go soon, so I just ask quickly, do you think I should take one of those flows we have, that's mid-fidelity flows, and try to prototype them and see where the flows, or should I do the mobile navigation, prototype the mobile navigation, which only have static screen, but with some real screens? What would you say was more important now?
So I actually think the navigation is a perfect candidate for HTML prototyping. In a way that you can just change the screen size a little bit. You can see, like, figure out the points where it switches between different layouts. You can pull it up on your actual phone and start it there. So I think I would that is one of the few things where I think HTML prototyping is really, really helpful. So if you want to do that, then that would be super cool.
I thought about moving it to Figma and just, but yeah, prototyping in Figma. So maybe no, I probably won't be that effective in HTML. I mean, I would have to learn it from scratch. So yeah, but the mid fidelity. I'm just wondering how to because we have this older flows scattered on the website and some of them on the GitHub. And I'm just thinking maybe we could fork the main file, which is without them right now, and try to just put them all in one file and see like what's missing. I'm just wondering how to.
Yeah. I don't have a specific answer for you right now here either on which of those milestones needs the most work. Maybe just kind of take a look through them and see from your experience where you feel like there are gaps and try to tackle some of them. You could also help out with the Assume UTXO stuff if Yasha is cool with tag teaming there. Like there's momentum on Assume UTXO if you'd like to dig into that one. That could be one. But also feel free to poke around the dev pull requests and see what's open there. Yeah, I don't have a specific answer for you there right now. I think ideally we would go actually look at each milestone page and identify what's missing and where the holes are and work off of that. I can try to start that tomorrow, maybe. Would that be helpful?
Okay.
Well, you're
okay,
also
let's do it.
From the research side, I think I'm going to put together a bit of a loose, maybe, I don't know, if an Excel document or something along the lines, looking at all of the milestones that have already been created, also adding in the Assume UTXOs, also adding in the navigation bar, and then sort of identifying which of these would be useful for testing, what type of testing would be useful, and then sharing it with you guys as well. You guys the same question.
This is nice. I also want to ask you more before I go.
Yeah.
Regarding the website, do you want to do the GitHub pages out of the repository, or what's your plan with that website content you're creating?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd love to discuss that together, but I'd love to see it in different areas. So I'd love to see some of the research in the guide. We're going to be putting together a case study on Bitcoin Core research that's been done. So definitely going to put that together. That will go into the guide, I think, if the community would like that. And then I'd ideally like to see everything living in a very public place where it's accessible to everyone. The reason why I thought of using GitHub is because, you know, the devs are basically living on GitHub. They spend most of their time there, and I want to make it accessible to them. So just making it accessible is very important.
Yeah.
Because I'm just wondering if it's because I got an impression you want a separate website just for this research. And I'm wondering why we don't add it to the current website.
Yeah, Christoph is about to say that. Go for it.
Yes, add it here, make a thing called research. You know, the idea with this, like with this, ideally, these list of like bunch of links there at the top, they lead you to any important place that you need to know. That you need to be able to go to. I'm a designer. I want to look at the design file. I go here. I'm a developer. I want to see the roadmap. I go over here. You know, just like have these starting points. And then there's a contribute page. There could be a research page underneath there that talks about the history of all the research that was done. Maybe the contribute page says how to contribute to research or so. Thanks for joining, Jakob. Yeah. So I would totally try to make this the go-to point here.
Gotcha. All right.
The entry point for things. And then once people are working, they're kind of going to know, I think, where those places are that are most relevant to them.
Gotcha. Right. So the research report that I'm working on at the moment for the interviews that we did, we'll put all of that ideally in this website in the research section.
Okay. You don't have to put all the research findings in there, but a starting point. Like if a researcher comes, they want to see how does research work in this project? How do I help out? What's been done? They can get an overview, and maybe then you link out to, in one research report, someone might do a Noster long form note, and another person might have a video or something, right? You can just link out to all that stuff. But I think it's important that there's like there's a hub for that stuff. And I think it's helpful if the hub is also along with the design doc, so it's really integrated very well.
Actually, you just answered my question I had at the beginning, and I have one more question related to the contributing to the Figma. There's no way for me to screw up the community design, right? Like I don't have permission to mess that up.
Yeah. So long story, Figma. Like we could pay like 10,000 a year and have an enterprise account, and we could have merging and branching and stuff and proper.
I'm not too worried about that. I just want to.
We don't have that. So the thing is, duplicate the main file, and then once something is done, I basically have to recreate it in the main file. Because if I copy it over, it's going to reference the components in the file that you duplicated. And then there are external dependencies, which are problematic. So it's really stupid and very manual.
Yeah, that's frustrating. Okay.
And there's no good word. There's no way around it, really.
To that point, I had to find it, but there is a pretty good plugin that that kind of took or migrated components for me from one library file to my own, exactly to solve that problem. I'll dig that up. Maybe that could be helpful.
Yeah. The problem is then it has to compare because let's say you duplicate, they're all going to have the same names, and then it has to compare which ones is changed, which one you want to keep. And when you swap out these components, it might actually mess up the state. So your design actually might change. Unless this is a super sophisticated plugin, it's a mess.
Gotcha. Yeah, don't do components in
It's just not use components. Yeah. 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 Messy. So how about we kind of set up our goal that for next week we all take we kind of review the current design and the design file and the research stuff, and we kind of identify a bunch of stuff that we want to do. That we think needs to be done. I'm definitely going to review I spend a good amount of time cleaning up issues in the Bitcoin design guide. And I guess I'm going to do the same over here now. Just delete old and stale stuff, add notes to things. If there's an update on the status, ask questions. I'll try to do that so we have a tidy base here in GitHub. And,
all right. Hey guys. Sorry, Christoph.
Go ahead.
I didn't want to. I just wanted to quickly say, I think the Assume UTXO, just wanted to hype it up a little bit for everyone, in case you don't know. So Assume UTXO is like an amazing feature that is very useful during onboarding, because it dramatically shortens the time that is required for you to be able to use the wallet, right? Because otherwise you have to wait until the IBD is finished, the initial block download is done, and only after that you can use it, right? But beginning Bitcoin Core 26, so Assume UTXO is in the latest release of Bitcoin Core, right? And what that allows the user to do is potentially shorten the time they can begin using the application by several times, right? So it might take a couple of weeks to do the IBD, but with Assume UTXO you can begin using the application maybe just in a couple of days, or half the time or 1/3 of the time. Yeah. So it's a new feature. it's already in the Bitcoin Core main release. It is a feature around onboarding, and we already have an application in the Bitcoin Core app that does the onboarding part, right? And it dramatically, at least it is supposed to dramatically improve the onboarding experience. And I feel like another fact on this one is that, and I might be wrong on this, so please do correct if I'm wrong. But I don't think that the current Bitcoin Core application has any UI for this feature. So it follows that if we were able to nail it down in terms of the design here and include it in one of the releases, the new Bitcoin Core application might be the first application to have this. And this happens to be a feature that, as I said, reduces the onboarding time by several fold. And so if you think about the UX, onboarding is the biggest hurdle because it can take like a week or 2 weeks to just do the onboarding, and this feature apparently helps with that. So I feel like we could do something interesting around this and get a lot of attention, but also improve the big UX hurdle substantially. So yeah, we want to know how you guys feel about that.
I think it's a great idea. I think you're right.
I love your passion, Yashraj. I love it.
That's the only way I know. But like Christoph was saying, like the design is like just like in the discovery definition, that kind of a phase. We spent a couple of weeks just like asking questions and getting some basic technical answers and some basic questions, and that is what we have right now. So I think I can share like the Figma file and all of that. We could do like the research testing and all of that on this feature too. Uh, if you want to do the web-based prototyping, yeah, that's something I don't know how to do at all. So if somebody just wants to point me in the right direction, I can like begin walking in that direction and just like trying to learn and use this assume UTXO user flow to try and do that and see what do the users think. Does it feel like it's intuitive or useful or familiar, etc., etc.
Yashraj, you bring up a very interesting point. When we had the last designathon in the community last year, understanding how to prototype was one of the main questions that came up, and that a lot of the designathon projects needed. And we have in the UX Research Toolkit, user testing, but we don't have anything about teaching people how to actually create prototypes. And now you mentioned that, it makes me think that that's something maybe that people need to learn. It's not just assume that people know how to create prototypes and what the reasoning is behind creating prototypes.
Yeah,
But let's
for sure. I mean, I look at Christoph's web-based prototype of the lock and the various this thing, and it looks like the dark arts to me. I'm like, wait, what is Christoph doing? Like, this is wizardry.
I believe that that's a hole in the UX Research Toolkit, teaching people how to prototype. So Christoph says design huddle. I say that needs to be in the UX Research Toolkit. So let's make that happen.
Yeah, let's do it. And if you want to use assume UTXO as like the guinea pig to do that, whatever you guys need, just like hit me up. Because I think it's like at just the right stage, because it's not defined yet, so we have to define it a bit and then we have to test it, and like, yeah, it's pretty wide open.
No, sounds awesome. I think this is great if we do this. I could easily see us have a separate page here. I don't know. I mean, the most logical place, it would be under 1.8 other. It would be called assume UTXO, or maybe in first use, there could be a sub page or here called assume UTXO, where it's like, okay, this is what we have right now. Here's a variation of this that includes assume UTXO. And then until it's implemented, we're all happy with it, right? It'll just be two separate things, and then we merge it in. I think the user experience onboarding definitely changes. I think the part that you cannot forget is that it's before being able to load in your snapshot and it's speeding up, you actually have to get it from somewhere, right? You have to figure out where you get those gigabytes from, and you can trust them, and you have to download them and have them available. So there's a new part to this. In a way, from a user perspective, the traditional onboarding is actually easier. You have fewer things to do, but you have to wait longer. This one requires you to do more, but if you do it well, then it's faster. So there's another part of this.
Yeah. So about this one, I think this is like even a good question for like somebody on the dev side, like that. Granted that the feature is already included, but like right now there is no UI, and so you have like RPC commands to generate the snapshot, and then you somehow copy it over, and then I'd assume you load it somehow, and that would also be like RPC command somehow, like, how are they like doing it, and how are they envisioning that the user is going to do it? Because what you just said is right, how do you generate this thing?
Well, I would say you're at the forefront, right? So like that's up to you.
Well, you'll
Because
figure it
for
out.
sure, this is like a developer tool only so far. It's an RPC command, right? So like, yeah, that's up to you to figure out. I think you're like I said, you're at the forefront of that. So.
You were at the forefront, Yashraj.
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone actively working on that as far as I know. So like, yeah, you get to figure that out. My suggestion would be to throw it under other, and yeah, I think you'll get a lot of interest with support in terms of like getting this built, because a lot of people want to see Assume UTXO in some form.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to be making a suggestion for the next design huddle call in. Not the one this Friday, but the next one. Practical stuff. And it's going to help the UX research toolkit, so I'm all on board. Cool.
Yes. Sounds cool. If you guys have any ideas or any this thing, basically the concept is there is this file that you can use during onboarding that super dramatically speeds up the IBD and the wallet use time, but it requires a file, and that file can also be generated from the application. But how do we do it? Like, so just like abstracting all the details out, it's like how to generate this file that can later be used in the onboarding. But the problem is that the onboarding comes first for the user and generating comes after for the user. But practically it has to happen the other way around, because the generating has to happen first. So
you have to get it from someone.
Yeah, you have to get it from someone. So how does that someone do it? Like maybe they are like a dev and they maintain a website and they generate a snapshot that you can just download. It could be something as simple as that too. But yeah, I mean,
what's the deal with trust in that file? Even if it's corrupted, it can't mess things up after the block is finally down. All the blocks are finally downloaded.
Yeah, it's going to validate itself, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some error conditions there.
But it's not. You don't have to you don't have to worry about trust to a huge degree.
Well, you do have to trust. There's a window in there where you do have to trust whoever gave you the snapshot gave you the correct one. There's a whole bunch of checks, and I don't know all of them, but I have a guess about how they work to validate and make sure your UTXO set is sane. But yeah, until your node fully validates the chain, it has to assume the snapshot it got is correct.
No.
Yeah, there's a lot.
yeah, I saw this post here by Peter Willie, I think. Someone asked, how does block synchronization work in Bitcoin Core today? And it goes through all of these different steps. And that's probably not even everything here.
But there is so like in Bitcoin Core, there is a big magic number that the hash that identifies the UTXO set. So that's like a really basic way to validate that the UTXO snapshot you got is exactly the one that the developers published.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So assuming you have the Bitcoin Core magic number that identifies the snapshot, you're going to have the right one as long as it matches that number.
Yeah, and that number will always be a little bit outdated, right? It'll be a bit behind. So up to that point, you can trust it, and then anything beyond that, anything newer, then needs to be validated somehow.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, but to get back to the planning topic, so Yashraj took a lot of initiative here, just started rolling with Dear G, Dr. G, whatever it may be. Jakub came in and said, "Hey, what can I do?" Those are both great things. I do feel like I need to go through, clean up the issues a bit, and kind of identify things that are easy to pick up. So when, let's say, Jakub or other people with that intent come around, and try to make it obvious what can be picked up. But everyone is also welcome, like Yashraj, to take initiative and just roll with something that they're interested in, of course.
So in the beginning, you mentioned that like in 6 months, you would like to have the wallet flows solved. That seems like a big theme.
I'm just saying that.
No, and like I was gonna just say that as well. I think the biggest goal and like the thing that would have the most impact is to have a proof of concept of, or a demo or whatever you want to call it, of the wallet flow, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Up to whatever point that is. Obviously we don't have to have everything solved, but like, basic wallet, maybe you create a wallet and you can do a single sig or something.
Exactly.
That's in my mind the like number one goal from the dev side. And like, again, like I'm just saying that, I haven't like confirmed that's what everyone else wants to do, but that's in my mind what the focus should be. So just with like looking at it, like we need to get started, and someone had interest in like starting 1.3. So like that might be a good place to look, to like go to those milestones and see if they're good, right?
Yeah, Michael actually has an update on this one. Michael's already done some work
Cool.
that needs to be. There are some small stuff with a PR that needs to be wrapped up, and then it can be merged in.
Now I remember that we didn't merge or that one, right?
Yeah, there are a couple outstanding things,
Yeah.
but yeah, for sure.
True. Yeah, I was just gonna say that since I'm gonna be working on the shared wallet refresh for the Bitcoin design guide, I think this is it's very related. The create wallet flow will be very related to that one. So I'll see if I can, just repurpose some of the work that I'm doing there and kind of contribute it towards the milestone 1.4 at least.
Yeah.
And the other ones as well, right? Because I have to look at it holistically, and I'm going through all these pains with all those wallets and software. But I'm not sure when I'll really get to that. Probably not this month.
Yeah. And Johnny, so if you're saying that the proof of concept is an important milestone, if you can already outline what is needed from a design for that one, then we can actually work towards that or bundle things together, so you don't have to kind of interpolate between past, present, future states.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can. We'll try to figure that out too, from the dev side. What I kind of envision is possible in 6 months to get done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can try to work that out.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I said 6 months is because I would love to have a dedicated website for this application once it's available, because bitcoincore.org right now, it doesn't even show what the application looks like. There's no list of features, but I think whether we create a new website or we redesign bitcoincore.org, I feel like there's a bunch of stuff to be done around making sure this is the pre-installation experience is also really, really good, and we present this whole thing well. So if let's say we get all of our working ahead designs done in the first half of the year, then afterwards we can just focus on supporting devs and also the, I guess, marketing side of things.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Something that's coming to mind is with this first time user experience as well, is on that website that Christoph mentions is frequently asked questions. I think we have maybe something like that on the Design Docs website, or something slightly started. I remember something along those lines, but
yeah, but those are more about supporting development for end users. Once the application's done and there's a wallet and all of this stuff,
Exactly.
that FAQ will be pretty different.
Yeah, exactly. That's maybe he's already starting to think through those FAQs. Some of them came up in the onboarding testing process as well. So maybe something that we can do. This is way too ahead of time. Is try to think through an FAQ document for the wallet itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, that's way ahead of time because.
Yeah, I think we can definitely probably already come up with a sequence of events here. A minimal site would probably just showcase the UI, talk about its benefits, use cases, features, have an FAQ at the bottom. The craziest, biggest version would be redesigning all of Bitcoin Core org, where we actually rethink how the whole project as a whole presents itself. Like that it's a community, that it is a project, talk about its history, talk about the command line daemon and the command line wallet and the application as separate things, how you can use it as an end user, how as a hobbyist, how to use it as a developer, how to use it as a business or as a miner or a node runner. Like it can get really, really big potentially. And I don't know where everyone wants to go or what's a good place is, but there's probably some exploration out there and a sequence where we can start with something small to whatever it needs to be in the end. But yeah, that would be a really big thing, and redesigning that whole website will probably require a whole bunch of consensus building and iteration.
Yeah.
But it would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Like that's the goal of this project too, is to make the experience onboarding, and like the website's a huge part of that. Like where you get these binaries is a huge part of that. It's kind of a mess right now, so that's really cool. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll do it all in 2024, and then we'll peace out and go on vacation in 2025.
Yeah, right.
Everything done. All right, but we're at the hour here. Anything else you'd like to chat about?
Well, I had a quick question. I don't want to take up too much time about the animation, the animations. Yeah. What do you see as the next step for that? I mean, do people have to? Is there enough?
Yeah, so maybe everyone can take a look at that. I don't know, has everyone looked at that? So we basically
I've done a Figma file. I guess now I'm realizing maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I should have just put it, put it on different GitHub posts.
No. I think this is it. It's just that this is a very loose project, and you always kind of have to remind people a bunch of times about things and get it in front of people. So so Joaquin put together a mood board and some examples for animations. I will share this issue here. Then I mocked up an animation here. What this could look like. We talked about looping, one-off animations. Let me pull up this file here in Figma. Yeah, so you can see there are some conversations happening in here and some explorations. some different ideas, and there are actual prototypes in here as well. Joaquin, did you want to talk about them, or?
No, I mean, I guess I'm more interested in the process of how this is going to work more than, is it more of a process of exposing it to people like as it goes, and then just giving time for people to have a say in it, or are people like, do we have to or would it make sense for people to vote at this stage, or this is just like such a basic stage?
Yeah.
Or any kind of feedback, or I'm not sure. I'm just trying to figure out the process, I guess.
Yeah, so I would say right now we have static animations. We have these examples here, and we can gather feedback on those examples. It would be awesome if everyone just takes a look and shared what they think. And I think the next step would be to actually create versions of these animations and just put them up somewhere where everyone can just kind of click. Where it's not implemented in the app, we kind of avoid that, but we just kind of make them, and then if everyone's cool, then we implement them. And implementation would be this initial prototype, the animations, it can be done in anything, right? But eventually they have to be done in After Effects and then exported to Lottie or some other tool that can export to Lottie. So that's the process in the end. So we get a vector definition file that then can be run in the application. And then, this is our first version of these, just like with everything design. I think we might put it, I think it's good if we can put those in the application somewhat soonish, and then live with it a little bit and just see how we like it or not. Because we might just like them initially, but then not like them 2 months down the road or so, and then just kind of see where we are. And I also think that all these these illustrations are fairly simple. They don't have to be that way. You could use different style. Someone else. But for now, I would just try to get a good first draft of those animations fairly quickly into the application.
Okay.
And then take it from there.
What did you do with that one that you made there? Which I kind of liked. That for some reason I was thinking those for the
this one here,
strengthening network.
Yeah. So the reason for that shape here is that it actually matches in Figma this shape here. This shape is used on a page you see afterwards that basically shows transactions kind of loading into this little box that represents your node that's running on your computer. So and this illustration here then represents the different nodes, and they're sending data around. And this is something you have to consider when you get to these screens. It's great if they can just loop, because otherwise someone goes there, they don't pay attention, the animation goes 2 seconds, they missed it, they don't know what's happening, and they can't replay it. So this was just a very, very simple looping animation where it's just those dotted lines are animating. And those 3 horizontal lines in each box, they're also kind of changing in transparency. And it's very, very simple.
Yeah. No, but I think it's effective. For some reason in my mind, I was thinking they're going to be rotating or something like that, but I think it's effective doing it like this.
Yeah. We can mock up other stuff too if you'd like. This is kind of conservative for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what my question is. It just like get something out quicker and be more conservative about it, or is it something with motion in it quicker? Or
you are welcome to define some of this too. If you feel strongly about a certain direction, then push it.
Okay.
I tend to be sometimes a bit too conservative with these things. So happy when people
Pure
push
freedom, Dokun.
What's that?
It's pure freedom.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
Freedom in your process. Enjoy it. Embrace it.
I'm exploring the freedom.
I have one very last question. I won't share the documents or anything, but the Bitcoin Core app website, the research section, Christoph commented on the document this morning, and then Jakob also commented. I'm going to continue working on that, but my feeling is that it's fairly in I don't know, 70% shape to start getting it. Maybe the next step would be getting it into code. That would be the. I'll share the document over here, but Christoph and Jakob already commented this morning.